Okay, we're recording.
Full music. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2024 Emergency Preparedness Seminar. It is Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, and it is 7 o'clock, and we're going to begin our annual Emergency Preparedness Seminar. My name is Albert Evangelista. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator. Also here this evening is Mayor Mark Sarah, Councilwoman Maria Kent, and Councilwoman Lisa Kilberg. And we have a host of people from our Flood Advisory Board and a few members from the public. So we encourage you to go through this entire slide series, pay attention to the information that we bring to you, because it's all in an effort of keeping our residents safe. There's a lot of information in here. There's a lot of information in our public outreach program booklet, which I will speak a little bit more about at the end. All right, first, there's 4 tenets of emergency management. The first one is mitigation. And mitigation are actions taken before a storm or other disastrous event that lessens the impact or effect of the disaster on our town and our residents. And I can tell you personally, and so can a lot of other people here this evening, we have done a tremendous amount of work in these areas. Desilting and desnagging have been a continuous, ongoing effort, year after year, especially since 2011 when we had Hurricane Irene. Hazardous tree and shoal removal. River cleanups occur every year. We have one coming up in town in May, so please check the website for that. And hopefully you will come out and assist us in cleaning up the rivers, the riverbanks of debris, tires, shopping carts, and anything else we can find, etc. Ordinance and statute enforcement. You could help us in this area. If you see somebody dumping in a stream or dumping something down a storm drain, please call our police department and they will respond and they will take care of it in regards to the proper ordinance or statute. Ordinances are our local laws, statutes are state law, and we follow them all in an effort to keep our rivers and our stormwater clean. Storm drain maintenance and debris cleaning, we do that on a regular basis with our DPW. We have an interlocal agreement with Ringwood to take care of our storm basins and clean them out. But you can help us when you see debris in a storm drain that's been trapped and it's just sitting there, and if you would and could pick it up and discard it properly, that would be a big help to us. Our DPW can't be everywhere. We can't do that obviously every day. But if you see any kind of debris in those storm drains, especially after a good rainstorm, when everything does drain to that particular storm drain, we need to clean that out as quickly as possible so that subsequent storms will not be, will not be affected by it. And preparing your own home and yard. We have a lot of people that report flood damage to us, which really could have been avoided had they cleaned their gutters on their home, make sure that their downspouts are leading into channels that take the water away from their home, away from their basements. And a lot of things can be done on your own property for water retention. We have a storm storm barrel project that our flood board pushes every year, hoping that people will do it in their own yards for water retention and then allow it to drain slowly on your own properties. So there's a lot of information out there about things that you can do within your own home and yard, but it's important that you take care of your own first and then help us out wherever you can on the outside. Preparedness is what we all should be doing. Now, our emergency services are always prepared. At a moment's notice, we may have to drop everything and run, whether it be a fire, whether it be a heart attack, a situation, a medical issue, or whether it be a police matter. We're always prepared and ready to go. We ramp up when we know storms are coming. We watch the weather channels just as you can. And when we see that something is on the horizon, we start to prepare for it. We run our pumps. We check our sump pumps, make sure that they're working, make sure they haven't seized up over the winter. All right, so anytime there's a predicted storm or other event, we start to get ready. Making sure your family is prepared through instruction. Talk to your children, talk to your other family members. Set up plans, prior planning. Get together and plan for different events that could happen and affect your family. And then go bags. If you know what a go bag is, it's a bag that's prepared, ready to go immediately in event you are told to evacuate or any other situation that may come your way. You may have to leave your home because there's no power. If it's in the middle of winter, then there's no heat. It's not a place where you want to be with your family, especially young children. So to have a go bag ready and be ready for an immediate evacuation, that's important. Just know this, that when it's a declared state of emergency, okay, and there's an evacuation order, you must evacuate your home. Okay, this is not a decision that you can make on your own. When it's a declared state of emergency in the state and in our county and in our borough, you must evacuate those areas. Otherwise, you place yourselves in harm, but more importantly, the emergency service workers that are going to have to come to your rescue. Responding to the event when and if it occurs. This could mean a personal response to a situation. You may be called to return home for some reason. A response by one of our emergency services agencies to remedy or at least de-escalate the emergency or disaster or the situation, if we can do so. If we can't get into an area that's flooded, certainly we're not going to be able to help you. And we saw that along the Jersey Shore back in Sandy, where a lot of people got stranded in their attics or in their homes where they couldn't be rescued because they had gone past the point of no return. So we ask you to leave your home and evacuate. Nobody wants to throw you out of your home. But if it's going to put you in danger, we definitely want to make sure that you're safe. And then in turn, that keeps our police, fire, and EMS service workers safe as well. We have a trained CERT team, which is an example of citizens taking immediate action in their own neighborhoods to help and or save lives in an emergency. The motto of CERT is neighbor helping neighbor, and that's what they're very well trained to do. They get training in fire, they get training in disaster preparedness, they get training in EMS or life-saving techniques, and they're there to help in the event we're affected by a disaster that takes place immediately, such as a pop-up storm, thunderstorm, and you know that all tornadoes are spurned by thunderstorms. So when we get a bad or very severe thunderstorm in the summer, it's very possible we could have a possibility of a tornado or what we call a downdraft, which is just short of a tornado, but it also does a tremendous amount of damage, taking down trees and power lines. So if you're interested in our CERT team, go to our website, our borough website, and you can apply to become a trained member. You don't have to be an active member of the team, but at least you'll know enough to take care of yourself in your own home, in your own neighborhood. Recovery is the biggest job that nobody likes. And that's after all the damage is done, we have to do recovery. It's a long and arduous process. All right, it begins with the documentation of the damage. And it's a lot easier today than it was years ago because everybody has a smartphone. So it's very easy to go around your home and take pictures immediately of the damage that was done, the damage of the items, the damaged items that you place out at your curb, because when time comes for insurance rebates, you're going to need and they're going to ask for documentation. All right, do you have proof that you put your washer out or your dryer out and it was damaged by the storm? You're going to be able to hopefully to say, yes, I have pictures of all of that stuff. Get your home in the background so that they don't think it's somebody else's home, or maybe it could be. Get a picture of your home in your background, and maybe even a family member standing in front of your home in the background so that you timestamp it, which the picture already is, but you also mark it as being from your damaged structure. All right, so you as a private citizen would and should take a survey. Again, property and vehicles. A lot of vehicles are damaged in storms because people don't heed our message to move them to higher ground. Now, I know that we had a lot of new residents in this last storm over in December, January. A lot of people didn't know where high ground was. So I don't know if you noticed, but in the second broadcast that we did to the community, we did give them streets to park the vehicles on, which we know are above high ground and not in the flood area. You can't move it at the same ground level that you're at, because the flood is going to spread out and eventually affect that vehicle. So we'll help you out in that regard. We just need you to get the vehicle moved. Structural damage, utility damage. You know, some people had sewage backups in their basements. There is a valve that you can put on your plumbing to eliminate that. and then vehicle damage we already spoke about. We do a windshield survey right after a storm, and what that is I, along with members of our DPW and certainly our police department, because they're busy actually taking reports and documenting that damage, we go out and do a quick windshield survey, because when we have a storm, the next day I'm getting emails from the state and county, state police and county OEM, and they want to know a general overview of our damage in Pompton Lakes. With our borough structure, our borough infrastructure, like our sewer plant, our water mains, and our water pumps, do we have fresh water for our residents? Those are the things they're looking at from the municipality. As a private citizen, the biggest thing they want to know is how many homes were damaged. And they have three categories of damage: major damage, moderate damage, and minor damage. All right, so we have to look at that, and we're trained, we've attended courses in this, and we know when we look at a particular neighborhood, we can tell right away whether we have the moderate, minor, or major damage. When you look at these pictures that you see of tornadoes out west, when every single home is flattened, obviously that's major damage. All right, there's no getting that back. Minor damage, believe it or not, is floodwater in your basement. And while it may be a catastrophe to you individually as a homeowner, it's minor damage. Okay, as a matter of fact, in this last storm, they only classified major damage as 18 inches of water in your first floor of your home. So people that had it higher than that were major damage. People that had lower than that was minor to moderate damage. And now, I feel as you do, any water in your damage, any water in your home is unacceptable. But that's the way FEMA classifies it. So that's the recovery process. And as I told the former mayor of this town, right after Hurricane Irene back in 2011, it takes a good 5 years for a community to fully recover from a significant event like that, and it did. It took us a good 5 years to see the south of our town come back to the neighborhoods that it was. And I was very pleased to see that, but it's a long and it's an arduous process. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of insurance involved, which just stalls it in many cases, the cleanup process. And you can imagine the other things that get thrown in as well. So those are the 4 stages of emergency management. We are a storm-ready community, which is a program that is issued by the National Weather Service, which we participated in on our own. There are very few storm-ready communities in the state of New Jersey. There's only about 18 out of 356 municipalities, if you can believe that. There's a lot of things you have to do to get classified as a storm-ready community. We have to have NOAA storm radios, weather radios in all of our schools. We have them in the police station. We have them in our EOC, which is the Emergency Operating Center. We have a weather vane on the roof that gives us local weather right in Pompton Lakes, wind speed, gale, wind gust, rainfall, and all of those things. We do it locally right here in town in the event that communication is cut off from the outside. And there's a host of other storm-ready things. We have to have a stormwater management program, which we do. And it's a very laborious process. It's 4 or 5 pages of application, and they come into our community and they do a site visit, as they did when we originally got this. And we've had this now for a very long number of years. And they did come in and do a survey of our community. They check to see that we've done all the things we say. And then that gives us a 15% discount on your insurance, your flood insurance for your homes. Okay, being a storm-ready community gives us 15% discount to our residents that need flood insurance. So it's very important that we keep it and that we have it and that we make our residents aware of the work that the borough is doing on your behalf to help you in your particular situations. We have an emergency notification system, which you should have hopefully gotten a message this afternoon as a reminder of this meeting. And if you know of people that are not signed up, please get them to sign up. And that includes your family members. Everybody in your household can sign up. And I'm talking about kids in high school, because our biggest daytime population in this borough is our schools. We have about 1,500 to 1,600 kids in and staff members in our 4 schools. So, and actually we have 5 schools when you include Windsor School. So my point is this: if something's happening on the outside, the kids should be aware of it as well. And if it's significant enough, it's going to cause our schools to release early or shut down. We certainly want everybody on the same page. Now, we have a very close rapport, as you can imagine, with our local schools. Now we have police in our schools, special class 3 officers there, one in each school. So we have instant communication, two-way communication with our schools. In the event there's a cell phone emergency, like there was a couple weeks ago, they had a major outage in AT&T, I believe it was, that went down. Last summer it was Verizon. So anything can happen, and with the state of the world that it's in right now, we know that our infrastructure is targeted as the next target. So make sure you're registered. Go on there. It's very simple to do. Go to the homepage, pomptonlakes-nj.gov, and on the left-hand side, you'll see the icon that says sign up for emergency notifications, and that's emergencies only. We are very, very decisive about how we use that system. We don't want to use it for anything and everything, because then people, just like the telemarketers, people just say, oh, and hang up. We don't want that to happen. We want you to know that when we say this is the Pompton Lakes Office of Emergency Management, you're going to listen to that entire message and you're going to act on it. All right, so please check with your neighbors, check with your family members, make sure they're signed up. Very simple to do. Anybody that can, especially the elderly, they may not have cell phones, they may not have smartphones, they may not have computers. Call our records department at the police station and we will record your information instantly. All right, we'll do it that minute, or we'll get back to you and get you in that system. Very, very important that you're in that system. We have over 44 residences in Pompton Lakes. Our population is about 11,000. So when we put out calls, we're putting out only about between 2,000 to 3,000 calls. So we're not hitting the population, because almost everybody in your family has a cell phone. So make sure that they're signed up. We should be putting out more emergency notification calls than we do, because we want all of our residents, especially those in the flood-affected areas, we want them to know. Okay, we have our usual events that affect our borough, such as flooding, wind events. We've gone through a lot of wind in the last week, and it's going to be windy for the rest of the week. I've got to commend our Shade Tree Commission, because in its last wind event, highest gust in New Jersey was 60 miles an hour. Our highest gust in Pompton was 30 miles per hour, which when you get some older trees out there and they start rocking, that's when the tree falls. And we've had a lot of trees that fell on private property. We only had one tree that fell on municipal property, and that includes along the roadways, which is a major, major accomplishment for Shade Tree and for our residents. Because our residents, if they have a tree they're worried about, call our Shade Tree or email the Shade Tree Commission, and they will get right on it, and they will take action. If it's the borough tree, we'll put it on our list. If it's not, we'll advise you, accordingly. All right, we provide a booklet that addresses all of these events. They're on the table right here in front of the room. Of course, if you're at home, you can pick those booklets up either at the Police Records Bureau or at the Borough Clerk's office on the borough side of our Borough Hall. And we have a booklet that is specific to Pompton Lakes, and we also have calendar or magnetic magnets for your stove or your refrigerator, which give you an instant recollection of things you should do in an emergency. So you may pick them up as well. Our tornadoes, we've had them in New Jersey. We had a very active tornado season last year. Thank God it was down in South Jersey. Not wishing anything on those people down there, but we're prone to tornadoes as well. We've had some downdraft events in the past. In the early 90s, we had a significant downdraft that took down almost every tree on Rainbow Ave, and the street was completely impassable. And I'm talking big trees. I'm not talking about small 4 or 5 inch trees. So tornadoes are becoming more prevalent in our area. They're developed from tornadic activity or hurricane activity, okay? And we know that hurricanes and even our thunderstorms have been more severe. in the last couple of years. Very happy to know that included in our school referendum that our municipality passed were lightning detection systems that will be going on all of our fields in our town, and I believe even in Riverdale, I think. So that's good news, because in the summer, that's one of our concerns, is a pop-up, thunderstorm, which could result in some tornadic activity. And it doesn't have to be a major tornado. But tornadoes can reach up to 300 miles per hour. And they could be 50 miles long and 1 mile wide, which would totally wipe our town out. So hopefully we never ever in our lifetimes see anything like that. But you should be aware of it, and you should tell your family what to do in the event of a tornado, which is to get in on the inner side of the house. Stay away from windows. If you don't have a basement, you want to be in a room in the center of the house. And if you're outdoors, just lie as low as you can in a culvert, in a ditch, but not under a bridge. That's a misconception. You should climb under an overpass, because they are very dangerous in a tornado situation. There may be times we ask you to shelter in place versus evacuate. For example, we had a train emergency, and I think you're familiar with East Palestine, Ohio. Was it west or east? East Palestine in Ohio. That had a tremendous train emergency and disaster, which released contents which affected a lot of the water and wells and everything else in the rivers. There may be situations like that where there's a plume that comes off of that incident, and you have to shelter in place. And we will advise you of that, and that's the importance of being on that emergency calling list. We have a highway, an interstate highway right on our border that carries a tremendous amount of hazardous materials, and very dangerous stuff, as a matter of fact. And, it could be natural, it could be hydrogen, propane gas, gasoline, smoke, or other hazardous materials. And you may be safer to stay in your home and shut all the doors and windows rather than leave and bring yourself into the outdoor air where you might walk into the plume. So if you're going to shelter in place, you're going to turn off your air conditioning units, seal your doors and windows, like they used to teach us in hotels. Wet a towel, put it under the door, and just stay put until the all clear is gone, or given rather. Okay, stay put. And evacuation, if we have to evacuate this town or any part of it, you will be advised, via telephone and other means that we have, loudspeakers and so forth, and we will give you evacuation routes. Unlike the shore where they post them on a sign, our evacuation routes could be to the north, south, east, or west, depending on where the incident is that's affecting our town. So we would tell you at that time, we would expect you to take the appropriate action.
Now,
yes,
we have the freight line, the train.
Yes.
It's not a commuter line, but it goes through like here and say Riverdale.
Yes.
If it were to become an accident,
we're very prepared for that. As a matter of fact, we're going to be having a tabletop drill on that this year.
who is in charge? Riverdale, like the training?
It would be combined. It would be, it's affecting both towns. We would have what's called a unified command post. And you would have police officials and emergency management officials at that unified command post. So there's never anybody really in charge. They're in charge of their entities, yes, police, fire, EMS, and so forth. But the overall, there's an incident action plan that has to be come up with. We have to come up with, and that would be done between, it could even involve Bloomingdale and maybe even Oakland. So it could expand that way, and that's why it's a unified command post. All right, so if you're told to evacuate, grab that go bag that we're talking about, and there's no time to hang around. You have to get out as quickly as possible. So don't waste any time in a situation like that. And we, as I said, we are going to be having a drill on the railroads. We have a railroad here that's just freight only. We don't have any passenger to worry about, but the freight it carries, and it runs quite a bit at night, is a hazardous material, obviously, and it meets all the federal guidelines, but you never know. We got to be prepared in any event. We talked about thunderstorms. The only thing I want to say again about them is they usually result in flash flooding because you get heavy rain in a very short amount of time. That's what a flash flood is. So if we get 3 inches of rain in an hour, we've got a problem. Okay, even if the reservoirs are down, we could have a problem. A slow, steady rainstorm is going to give us time to breathe. It's going to give water the chance to dissipate, to perk into the ground, and, to dissolve and, move out of the area in a multitude of ways. When you get a thunderstorm that's severe, we usually get a lot of rain in a very short amount of time, and that's when we can experience flash flooding, especially on our roadways. And that's when people get trapped in cars, and we got to go out and rescue them, and it's not a very good scenario. Flash flooding we just talked about. It's a quick, heavy rainstorm. We had it just last summer, especially the area of Route 46 through Little Falls and West Patterson. A lot of people trapped in their cars. Fortunately, no one died. The response agencies got out there, they rescued these people. But stay with your car. If you're ever trapped in floodwaters, remember that 12 inches of water can float a car. 6 inches of water will knock you off your feet if you get out of your car and try to walk. 6 inches of water will take you down. 12 inches of water will float your car. So if you're in water higher than that, in this one particular situation, water was over the car doors coming in the windows, stay with your car, okay? Because the car will float. If you get out, you don't have a life jacket on, or PFD as we call them, you're going to be a victim. All right, so very, very important to remember that. While it's on my mind, if you ever have an electrically charged wire fall on your car, stay in your car. Do not try to get out, because the minute you put your foot on ground, you're going to ground your vehicle to ground, and you're going to become the conductor, and you're going to be killed instantly. So if there's ever a live wire that comes down on your car and you hear it, zapping and making all kinds of noise, or maybe moving around, you know that the wire is live. Stay in your car. You're safe in your car. We'll get the power company to come, cut the wire, cut off the power, and then we can come in and make the rescue. Or in most cases, you'll just get out of the car. And you might say that might never happen in Ponton Lakes, but it just happened. Just happened about 2 years ago, right on Lakeside Avenue, if you can believe it. We had 2 people, male and a female, trapped in a car by a live wire. It wasn't a flooding condition, it was just the wire that came down on the car, it was live. So we told them to stay in the car until JCP&L got there, and then they cut the power, and we were good to go. All right, we just talked about this, stay in your car. If you can get on the roof, try to get on the roof, but I don't recommend it if you're not agile and you're not in condition to do that, because cars are slippery when wet, and if you slip off your car, the current of the river is going to take you away. It's going to carry you away. We're going to find you miles downstream, usually a week after the event, unfortunately. We know that our Garden State Parkway is prone to flooding, in flash flooding situations, under every overpass, of course, right? Which is the lowest part of the drain. So keep that in mind. Know your whereabouts. Have situational awareness, and don't be insistent. If you can wait the storm out, wait it out before you get on the road and try to do something that's not too smart. Earthquakes. We just had a 2.2 the other day in New Jersey, in White House Station. If you've ever been there, it's a very rural town. There's a lot of cows and farms, and it's where Quick Check's milk is produced in White House Station. And the only reason I know that is because I took a trip to White House Station to see where it was. And they just had a 2.2 quake. So we do sit in the vicinity of what is called the Ramapo Fault. You can Google that and find out all about it. And it does run right up through the Ramapo mountain range. And we're prone to some type of earthquake, or at least tremors, which people felt the other day. I don't know if you did, but there were several people that said to me they felt the tremors from that quake. All right, so just keep that in the back of your mind, and you want to be in a safe place in your house. Most people will go outside. That's a safe place as long as you're not in the vicinity of any falling objects. If you're inside a building, stay there, hide under a table or desk, not a doorway. That's a misnomer. I know years ago they used to say get in a doorway. Unless it's very strongly supported, stay away from windows and bookcases, cabinets, because they will fall. Okay, and unlike schools where all bookcases have to be mounted to the wall, and this may be so in our library as well, in your own homes you probably know that any case or shelf that you have in your house is not mounted or screwed to the wall. And an earthquake that's going to fall, If it's tall and it's loaded with books, it's going to fall on somebody. And if it's a small child, it could end up in, a disaster. So just keep that in mind in your own home. If outside, stay away from power lines, buildings, or anything else that can fall. And if in a vehicle, stay away from bridges, trees, or power lines. Tune in to radio or TV for the latest emergency information. And this is most important. If you smell natural gas or you have an electrical problem, call 911 immediately or take the appropriate action on your own. Now, we know we had a very catastrophic situation in Pont Lakes last January of 2023, okay, where there was a house explosion. Explosions only happen when there's explosive gases, okay? So if you smell natural gas or you smell propane, which is even worse, because propane is heavier than air and it will drop into your basement, it will drop close to the ground and travel across the ground. Natural gas is lighter than air, so if you open up the windows in your house, the natural air is going to relieve itself, it's going to go into the atmosphere, and it's going to become below the explosive range, as we call it, and it's going to become nil. Okay, it's not going to be a major issue. Propane, on the other hand, if you have a leaking propane container, and we just had a call in the fire department not too long ago, someone with a grill that was afraid of that, and I believe there was a small leak. Propane is very dangerous. It will go into basements or go into storage drains, and it will travel blocks away from where you are through the underground pipes, believe it or not. So whenever you smell an odor like that, even an undetectable odor in your home, call it in, and we'll be happy to cover. We have a 4-gas meter on all of our fire apparatus, okay, that gives us hydrogen sulfide, tells us natural gas, propane, and carbon monoxide. And you know we get a lot of those calls, but I want to remind you that carbon monoxide does not have an odor. It's odorless, tasteless gas, okay, but it will kill you. It's deadly. And you can't take any chances there. If your detectors are older than 10 years old, discard them. Buy new detectors, both fire and CO. If your detectors are older than 10 years old, it's time for new ones. The new ones come with a 10-year guaranteed battery. Doesn't have to be changed every year or every time you change your clocks. So it's a home run, and it will keep your family safe. That's the best invention that ever occurred in the fire service, was smoke detectors and CO detectors. They've kept a lot of people safe. Okay, so I'm saying thank you for the video portion, okay, for listening and watching, and hopefully you prepare and care for yourself, your family, your neighbors, and community. Hopefully you consider joining our CERT team, or at least take the training, which will teach you in your own home. Let's take, for example, we just graduated a 10-member CERT team, teenager team, if you will. The Teen CERT team, as it's called. Okay, they're high school students that just went through the same training that the adults get, and they loved it. But at least those kids will go home, and they will know how to shut off the water in their house. So when a pipe breaks or the toilet overflows, you know how to shut the water off. They know how to shut the electricity off at the main breaker to kill power in the whole house. And they also know how to use a fire extinguisher, and remember to pull the pin, otherwise it doesn't work. It's like a hand grenade, you gotta pull the pin, okay, and then you gotta aim, and then you gotta squeeze, and you gotta sweep. We call that PASS, the acronym PASS, okay, to pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. So we give you actual real life fire and allow people to put out, fires. And then of course the last one that I missed was shutting off natural gas if you have it. If you have it in your home, you either have an interior meter, which is very, very dangerous, which that house that exploded had. The meter was inside the home, or you're very lucky and you have an outdoor meter. Now, you can request from PSE&G to have your meter moved outside your home, and they will come and do it for free. However, we are on the radar. We are next. They just did Hawthorne last summer. They're going to be coming through our entire town, relocating all of our meters to the exterior of the home. And obviously for the reasons that we already talked about. We had a tremendous ash explosion in central Jersey that ended up in a tremendous amount of litigation. And very, very dangerous. It's great, just like fire, it's great when it's in a controlled situation, but when it's not, It's very, very dangerous. Okay, so remember my favorite motto, and I know our flood board mentions it all the time, and our CERT team mentions it all the time. And it's not mine that I made up, it is an OEM motto, and that is fail to plan, plan to fail. And that can be applied to anything in life, not just flooding, and not just emergencies. But if you fail to plan, you're gonna plan to fail. Now let's talk a little bit about our calendar booklet. In the center of the calendar that is mailed to you by the Borough of Pompton Lakes, okay, it's a cost to mail these to you. It's a cost to produce them. It's a tremendous amount of work on the part of our borough clerk and deputy borough clerk to arrange these and to redo them and to update them for publication to be mailed out to the residents. And it would be a shame if the resident gets this in the mail and just throws it on the side or throws it in the garbage. Because there is a plethora of information in this booklet, and it's useless if the booklet is never opened. Or as one gentleman told me in this last flood, he didn't even know it was on the inside of the calendar. And that's, that's common sense, because you're not going to go to the center of the calendar until you get to that month. Okay? So we're going to put right on the cover of the calendar, and we've had this before, we're going to put that your emergency booklet is inside. So hopefully people will go right to that, remove it as I did. I'm holding it up right now for the people at home that are watching this program. Okay, and read it. Read it at your leisure, but read it from cover to cover. There is all kinds of information about the National Flood Insurance Program, okay, which is very, very extremely important. The base flood elevation, which is how high the threshold of your house has to be above the flood, what is considered flood stage in your neighborhood. And there are different flood stages depending on where you live and what rivers you're affected by. So that's all explained in this booklet. You can come to flood board meetings, they're on the calendar. Okay, it tells you when it is. It tells you when the Shade Tree Commission meetings are. It tells you when the Borough Council meetings are. So all this information is put out to you as a public service through your tax money so that we can educate you. So please, when you get it in the mail, pull it out of the calendar, hang it in a very important place, because you just throw it on a bookshelf, it's probably going to get buried, and it's not going to be available when you need it. Like I said to the gentleman the one day that called me, he said, I can't find my booklet. Well, that's unacceptable. Okay, this booklet should be in a prominent place where if there's an emergency right now, you can go to it, open up to a page, or open up those little booklets that we bought specifically for our borough. And it tells you whatever the emergency is, it'll give you information on what to do. Okay, it's a how to do quick guide, if you will. So please, it'll be updated. We're updating it now. We're going to change the color to yellow so that it's a little more visible. Okay, especially if it's out and about your kitchen or wherever, your rec room, or hanging on the door. I have mine hanging on the door of the pantry, like I would need to refer to this if I had an emergency because of my longevity in emergency management. But through that all, and a lot of our people in emergency services have that longevity, we want to impart that knowledge on you, because us knowing that knowledge and what to do in an emergency is not going to benefit you when the phone lines are down, or you can't reach 911 because it was overloaded. In the instance of that guy that was trapped in his car on Route 46 in Little Falls, he was calling 911, and it just kept ringing and ringing and ringing because the system was so overloaded. And you got to know that those calls will be answered eventually, and it might be answered by somebody in South Jersey, because what it does is it bounces from the north part of the state to central to south, so that there will always be an answer to your 911 call. Okay, that's how the system was designed. Not going to help you when you're sitting there and the phone just keeps ringing and ringing. All right, so please tear that booklet out, read it before a natural or a man-made event. And that's how we classify emergencies. Naturals would be your thunderstorms, your tornadoes, your earthquakes, your floods, your rainstorms, or man-made events, which could be a train accident, a bus accident, a transport accident on the interstate. Now, know, and I think you do, that all of the reservoirs are fully to capacity. Okay, I just took a ride to Harriman State Park the other day. There's a reservoir up there that affects us, Oswego Dam. the Oswego resident in Harrisburg, in Harriman State Park, rather. They all lead to the Ramapo River, which all flows through the borough of Pompton Lakes. All these up-county towns, Bloomingdale, West Milford, even out of county, Jefferson, those areas, Greenwood Lake, New York, flows into the Wanakee Reservoir, which then flows into Pompton Lakes. And a week or two ago, it was 103% capacity. Okay, so it was overflowing. And then we have the Charlottesburg Reservoir, which you can see on Route 23 as you're going up through West Milford. You see that big reservoir on the left, that's the Charlottesville. And that has a major dam there that also dispenses, or discharges rather, a tremendous amount of water into the Paquonic River. And all three of those rivers convene at the southern end of our town. Okay, unfortunately. And then they turn into the Pompton River, which then goes down through Paquonic, Wayne, Little Falls, and ends up in the Passaic River. So it's very important that our residents know that, because when one of the three rivers are down, we have breathing room. When the Wanakee Reservoir is down even below 90%, we have breathing room. But when we have a spring like we're supposed to have, they're saying it's going to be a very wet spring this year, and it's going to be very active hurricane season, which starts June 1st. So we're not sitting pretty right now as a borough. As a municipality, we're not sitting pretty, all right, because we really need these reservoirs to go down and these rivers to discharge. And remember, all that water that falls upstream of us all has to come down our way. So it's not good for us. Okay, please share your plans with your family members. The schools are very well prepared. They have to have emergency plans, which they do. And hopefully in an emergency it'll all work out and everybody is safe. That's what we wish for you. Thank you and have a good evening.
First of all, this is Mayor Sarah. I would like to thank.
Mike, before you start, I just want to ask something about relative to the gas meters.
Yes.
Just to make it clear, putting those outside isn't just for the homeowner, it's for the emergency
Oh,
user
absolutely.
to be able to access it
Yes.
in case of an emergency.
And also, if it does breach a pipe outside, it's already into the atmosphere. I have an interior gas meter. If that pipe breaks or leaks, it's coming into my house. So that's why they want them on the outdoors. Lighter than the air, it's going to go up in the air, it's going to be
Also
homeless.
makes it easier for them to read it. They don't have to come in the
Yes.
house.
So they do
Yeah,
this
well, they don't-
electrically anyway.
Yeah, a lot of them have the smart meters now.
Yeah.
Okay, they were just in town yesterday putting in the electric meters that Jersey Central's going to. And they are read by a truck that just drives around and reads it electronically. And so does our MUA. Our MUA has that on their water meter. They have that capability. They were the first to have it, I believe, out of the utilities, so that's very good.
Courtesy, Mike, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
I just wanted to thank Al Evangelist, our OEM coordinator. He's been doing this a very long time, and we're very lucky to have him here in this community, because we have these talks, and, you know, now it'll be on television, everybody can watch it, but the time to look for this is not when we're flooding, right? The time is, and this is what Al's pushing right now, the time is to be prepared before the flood happens, because there's so much going on in town while it's going on, we can't answer every call that comes in. So you guys have to be, everyone has to be prepared, including myself, of what's going to happen before it happens. And that includes everything that he was just talking about in his talk. The other thing to keep in mind, the OEM does have a social media page, so does the borough. There's a lot of information that is put up on that as it's happening live. So when people are trying to find out some information as it happens, that's unfortunately or fortunately the best place to get that information. I will also put out some reports that things are happening, trying to call the police department or call OEM or call town hall. We're just overwhelmed at that moment, so we really can't do too much to get back to you. So if you really have an emergency, you're calling 911. Any other thing is hopefully you're prepared with all the information that Al presented, so I thank Al for doing that.
You're welcome.
Well done, Al.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.